What you have in the surrounding area would be a lot of the things you see off in the distance, these real towering southern pines. We've got these beautiful live oaks. And keep in mind, with these pine trees, obviously they are in full foliage year round. I'll tell you, the way it goes is you'll have a little bit of the eerie quiet, the wind begins to pick up, and then you have this loud snap. It's almost like a gunshot or artillery fire. Oh, shit, guys. Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
There we go, Austin. I don't know if you're able to capture that one. Absolute punishment. But good heavens, what we're seeing here, sakes alive. All right, guys, look out. Okay, there are roughly 50 live oaks. Some of these trees have been standing for well over a century. So collectively, we're talking about more than 1,000 years of life coming to an end. I mean, it just gives you goosebumps, and you just kind of hunker down the best you can, and then you just wait for it. It being the collapse of one of these grand trees. But every now and again, you'll hear this huge pop, this big crack, and you just kind of look around and see what is falling and where it's falling. That's the most important thing. Big gust coming through. Notice a lot of the water falling from the heavens. It comes down, catches the upmost branches, and goodness sakes. This is the reality in Perry, Florida. This is what we are dealing with at this hour.
Oh, crap.
This is all water. The water stops right there, which is great. Down there, it's bad. Whew.
Wow, a lot of trees. Okay. Whoa.
Welcome to the News Hour. Hurricane Idalia has weakened to a tropical storm tonight, hours after it blasted North Florida with winds near 125 miles an hour and a wall of water that caused heavy flooding.
Officials reported 2 rain-related traffic deaths. Thousands of people chose to get out of harm's way while others hunkered down for the first major storm to hit the state this year.
After a night of raging wind and rain, Hurricane Idalia landed early today on Florida's Gulf Coast. Those who sheltered in place woke up to find flooded streets.
The flooding is unbelievable. I'm not going to be able to go to work, I don't think, for a couple days, and this is going to be devastating, I think, for at least a couple days.
The hurricane could be seen from the International Space Station. The storm hit hardest in the Big Bend region, where the Florida Panhandle curves into the peninsula. After the hurricane had passed, officials urged people to remain watchful for surging water and rising tides. Local utility companies staged crews and trucks in anticipation of outages. As of midday, when the eye of the hurricane moved out of Florida, hundreds of thousands of people were without power.
The state is still being impacted by the storm's bands, and we're seeing that particularly in the northern part of the state. Utility workers are actively working to restore power in all affected areas.
As Idalia moved inland, the storm was on track to cross Georgia and head into the Carolinas before moving back out to the Atlantic Ocean. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp said he expected the storm to move quickly through the state, but he cautioned people not to let their guards down.
It's a dangerous storm. People need to prepare. They need to be ready when it's coming through and either, move a county or two up if they have the ability to do that. If not, make sure they're in a secure location.
Up to 120,000 people in Georgia had already lost power by the afternoon. Back in Florida, images from the storm's aftermath included this one of a downed tree at the governor's mansion in Tallahassee. President Biden today spoke about the storm's impact.
Federal teams on the ground are going to continue to work with the first responders in Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina to get people to safety. I let each governor I spoke with know if there's anything the states need right now, I'm ready to mobilize that support of what they need.
All of this in a state still recovering from last year's Hurricane Ian that destroyed thousands of buildings and killed nearly 150 people.
For an update now from an official on the ground, we turn to the mayor of Tallahassee, John Daly. Mayor Daly, thank you for being with us. This was the largest, strongest storm to ever hit the Big Bend area in modern history. Tallahassee is, of course, the region's biggest city. How has your city fared?
Well, to be honest with you, we got lucky. We started off this morning at about 6:30 at the Emergency Operations Center, looking at a potential Cat 3 hurricane making landfall and coming straight to Tallahassee. But as we now know, when it hit landfall, it actually went due east. We were impacted and we do have damage, but it could have been much worse for the Tallahassee area. But you are correct. This is the strongest storm, I believe, in history that has hit the Big Bend area. And I know a lot of my colleagues and mayors of other communities up and down the Gulf Coast are in a massive rebuilding recovery stage as well.
In our report, we saw that 100-year-old oak tree that's split in half in front of the governor's mansion, and part of which fell on the mansion. Do you have an idea of the extent of the damage across your city right now?
We do. We have a lot of trees down. One thing about Tallahassee is that we are a Tree City USA. 55% of our city is actually under a tree canopy. So our concerns, obviously, are when you have high winds and trees and power lines, they do not mix very well. So as a result, between the sustained winds that we did impact here in Tallahassee, we did have a lot of trees down. A lot of trees that fell on power lines. They're blocking roads. We're out in the process right now. And unfortunately, the massive oak on the grounds of the governor's mansion fell down today. And we're sorry to see that happen, but we're glad that no one was hurt when it did come down.
This part of Florida, as we mentioned, isn't really accustomed to storms of this size and magnitude. How was your city able to prepare for it?
Well, we laugh and say we had backup plans to the backup plans to the plan itself, and we started early, and I'll give you some examples. Number one, communication is key, and we began communicating with our community. Let me remind you, we have a municipal population of 200,000, another 100,000 in the county with a student population of 70,000. So it's very important for us to communicate and let everyone know that we have a significant storm event coming and be prepared. As a result, we didn't have the long lines at the gas pump or in the grocery store. People took care of business, but we did in an orderly fashion. As an institution, we are the largest municipal service provider in the region. We were out checking over 4,000 miles of transmission and just distribution electric lines to make sure that they were clear, checking our sewer system, our stormwater system, our water systems. And as a result of that activity up front, I think that our stormwater and our water systems, they all work very well. But we also ramped up our manpower. We tripled the size of our electric utility department by reaching out for our mutual aid agreements as far away as Nebraska, Oklahoma, Ohio, Mississippi, Louisiana. And we had other municipalities that sent their crews to Tallahassee. Prior to the storm, we stationed our assets all across the community. And so as the storm moved through our community, we were ready to respond. Went straight out, had our emergency response do the first assessment, and here we are.
Do you expect that these kind of weather events will become more common? And how are you planning for it, if so?
So we are used to having these type of weather events, not necessarily a direct hit, but we usually are impacted one way or the other in the Tallahassee community by a tropical storm event, say. Most of the time they go to the west of us, actually, and not the east of us. That's what made this one a little bit more unique. I think what is concerning is when we look at the size and the strength of these storm events as they're coming through now. We're seeing a lot more intensity, even in our summertime rainstorms that take place, let alone these massive storm events. So it does cause pause and make you think about the environment and global warming and what it's doing to all of our communities. So we are impacted usually maybe on an annual basis or every other year from some type of a massive storm event or a tropical storm event.
John Daly is the mayor of Tallahassee. Mr. Mayor, I'm glad to hear your city escaped the worst of Idalia. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.